So for paper one, I'm going according to the order of the blocks that we tried to do, starting with the block number 2. Again, disclaimer, whatever sources that I have referred to, you should not read from paper one to paper ending, whatever it is. And I already assumed that you are thorough with the concepts of introductory psychology textbook and NCERT. So coming to the block number 2, that is cognitive psychology, which deals with 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, and 13 chapters. I find it is very important to invest as much time as possible in building your concepts and making a detailed notes of all the 6 chapters, because you will reap rewards in the different other chapters and paper 2, because this forms the core of psychology, cognitive psychology. For this, I have referred to Goldstein ka cognitive psychology textbook, which is really impressive. He deals with all the 6 chapters in greater detail. You don't need to go into every part or every page of the textbook, but you can instead go with the concept. So for example, Atkinson's, sorry, not Atkinson. So what is the theory on perception? Broadbent, Donald Broadbent. So Donald Broadbent's theory hai, and then
filtration theory and
theory hai. Yes, sir. So there are 4 theories, and he starts from cocktail party effect, and he moves. He'll create a flow on how it evolves. So those are really helpful when you're making your points on attention or perception. So you can see the theories that how they have illustrated. He uses flow diagrams a lot. So you can copy the way he is mentioning the theory. So for this book, I found Goldstein really well. And also the Sternberg. So Goldstein, and there is another book by Sternberg. It's Sternberg itself. That fellow who has given that intelligence theory, that book was also important, but Goldstein was really important. So I found whatever is the Cicerelli ka basic notes हमने बनाया था, because in Cicerelli there are no detailed theories on attention ka theory or perception theory. He generally gives कि अच्छा color perception ये होता है, या what are the perceptual blocks or something. But detail में होता है Goldstein, which I found it really helpful. So
and
for this block, I recommend this textbook.
To add on for sensation also, NCERT is very good, very simple. It explains those concepts in a very lucid and simple manner. So for that sensation chapter, NCERT is also fine. If you are not able to find other sources, at least make sure you read that. You can also score decently in these questions only after reading NCERTs.
So even if people have Cicerelli, for me, my notes is based on Gross, because Richard Gross was my basic textbook, not Cicerelli, because I've spent enough years to understand Richard Gross. So I don't recommend to everyone, but if someone has given 4 or 5 attempts with this optional, you can always switch to Richard Gross, because it is easy only. The beauty is that he gives in point format, which was really helpful for me to make the notes. So my combination was Richard Gross plus Goldstein for the entire cognitive psychology textbook based on the syllabus. Don't read it cover to cover, just topic wise ढूंढो कि कहाँ पे what is the illustration that is there. When it's coming to answer writing in cognitive psychology, you have to ensure that you're covering as many theories as possible. For my standard answer on cognitive psychology starts with a definition, basic definition. If it is an attention, what is attention? And then you are going into details, you will give salient features of attention, that it involves so and so, it involves mental effort, वगैरह वगैरह. And then theories, जो है, for theories, I followed your method only, illustration. If I found an illustration for broadband, there will be this 4 blocks wala theory, and then Friesman, there will be another 4 blocks, and Deutsche, there will be another 4 blocks. So if you're mentioning those 3 flow diagrams, I think it will make it very clear for the examiner कि हाँ, ये बंदा को पता है कि how this girl understands how the attentional theories have evolved. So that is another thing. And when we are, I try to, if any theory, for example, intelligence में Gardner का theory. So I had those points, salient features in point format. And for every theory, I used to have a significance and criticism wala aspect. Significance, how to apply them, how it is relevant in the real context. And criticism.
If any theory is asked in the paper, it always starts with critically evaluate. So you have to add significance and criticism in your theory notes. If they are missing, you should you should add it, please add it, because it is necessary.
Yes, sir. 5 points minimum. Significance ka 5 points and criticism ka 5 points minimum hai. Criticism, you can do this hack. Like for example, intelligence theories, there are 5 or 6 theories mentioned in the syllabus. So if they ask J.P. Das ka theory, you can write all the other theories as the criticism.
Yes.
Spearman ne ye bola, ya Thurston ne ye bola. You can create points there if you don't know. But you generally find those topic points easily. extra points will be awarded, I think, if you substantiate that significance with research study or something. If you bracket me, if you're writing that research study and say the significance, then they know you're not bluffing. Instead, you are basing your point on informed decision making.
Yeah,
so that is one thing that has helped me a lot. Try to figure out as many illustrations.
My approach in this, just like you share two aspects. My third one is I used to follow my simple acronym, that is GRAVE, like generability, reliability, ethics, all this. So validity, these are the 5 different aspects I used to analyze a theory. So you can also do that.
Yes, so any significance and real life applications, conclusion, you can always, like, I think we had a discussion on, sir, how to conclude for theories and all. I think we used to discuss a lot during Pariksha. So said ki if there is a theory on Piaget or something, you can always link it with the recent one, like national education policy or something in the current affairs thing, so that your knowledge is not restricted in the textbook, but you're also having a real life application of that particular theory in Indian context. That I have worked on my conclusion. So for cognitive psychology, Goldstein is very good. Richard Gross or Cicerelli, it is fine. Any book, and you can add on with the Goldstein, because there are some theories which you have to refer, because Cicerelli does not have them, especially the perception chapter and language and communication chapter, the properties of language, what are the structure of language, Noam Chomsky ka structural phase structure and deeper structure wala theories and all, they are not there in Cicerelli. So for that you have to refer an extra book, and Goldstein is the best book that I have found for cognitive psychology. Okay. So now next, moving to the next block, that is the third one, which deals with the personality aspect. So what I've done is, when I was making my notes, I ensured that every school of personality, first of all, I started with the definition of personality. The standard source that I have referred is Berger's personality textbook, which I found really helpful. He illustrates, especially in the first chapter, he illustrates what exactly is personality, why do we have different perspectives on personality, why it is an overall and a very huge topic in personality. He comes with this 5 blind men and an elephant wala story. Everyone touches each part of the elephant and say, this is what it is. But he says that it is a good analogy on why these many different perspectives. I think, if I'm not wrong, there's a previous year question also, why there are so many perspectives in personality. The topic itself is so huge, and anything, aggression, depression is so huge that one perspective cannot deal with the entire spectrum of the challenges of the solution. So the first chapter is really good. In that chapter, I made notes out of the first chapter to make my point much better. So what he does is, he goes in a thematic format. So psychoanalysis, he starts, he gives the major theory, Freud ka, and then Neo-Freudian's major theory. And then he says, what are the disorders that are dealt by this school, and what are the therapeutic approaches that are present. So he has that flow. He'll complete the entire psychoanalysis. After that, he moves to behaviorism, theories, disorders, and therapeutic approaches, cognitive, like that. So he goes in a format, so which is 11th chapter, paper tome is 2nd and 3rd chapters. So I found it really helpful, because when you're reading with the theory, you're also reading the same applications of it and the disorders of it. So that is the reason why I included it in this particular box, chapter 11 and paper tome 2 and 3. Berger is my primary textbook that I've read for this. It is very simple. Even if you are unable to read the textbook, you don't need to read the entire textbook, because there are some perspectives which are not mentioned in the syllabus. Even if you are unable to read them, you can always see the summary. He has given point format, 1, 2, 3, 4. What are the contributions of humanism? 1, 2, 3, 4. What is the criticism of humanistic approach? 1, 2, 3, 4. What are the contributions of psychoanalysis? 1, 2, 3, 4. With research studies. So you can directly go to the end of the chapter, see the summary, significance, criticism, which is really helpful for me. So this is how I've done the personality thing. The same in answer writing also, I've ensured that
thanks for psychoanalysis. Thanks for another heuristic.
So I've ensured that the personality thing answers, I've ensured that I was writing the theory. So psychoanalysis answer is incomplete if you're not mentioning Freud. It is incomplete if you're not mentioning at least one original book. Like if you're writing about dreams by Freud, वो book होता है उसका, dreams का book. So I ensured that I wrote, and bracket में वो year भी होता है, 1799 या 89 कुछ होता है वहाँ पे. So I used to ensure that. So and then salient features of that thing, salient features of the theory, you should mention in either in a flowchart or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For that, and then significance 5 point, criticism 5 points. The same thing. Criticism, you can write the other approaches. Social culture क्या बोला है, humanistic ने क्या बोला, behaviorist ने क्या बोला, and then you can apply यहाँ पे why exactly. So for instance, psychoanalysis deals with particular disorder really well. So, for example, cognitive approach is generally used for depression. So when I'm writing about cognitive approach, I used to ensure that this approach is particularly important because it deals with it empirically proven to treat depression, and India mein itna significant problem hai. So this approach is really important. That's my conclusion.
Yes.
So this is the answer I used to write for personality. The same I used to write for chapter 2 and 3 of paper 2. So this used to be my third block, which I'm telling second. And then thirdly, I used to read 4, 8 and 14. 4, 9 and 14. Fourth is developmental psychology. NCERT में अच्छा होता है actually. They give points wise only.
Very nice.
Yes, sir. Characteristics of development and all. And for this, I actually mentioned, I've referred to a Schaefer textbook. There's a Schaefer ka ek developmental psychology textbook hai. In that, there is a chapter on theory, Piaget ka theory, Vygotsky ka theory, and all. It is really helpful because the way they represented the theories, I found them really well in that textbook. So you can copy the illustrations and you can copy the theories from there. Apart from that, you don't need to read the entire book as per that thing. And the other portion in chapter 4, which I did not find material, is that gene and environment interaction. So how much is the nature and how much is nurture? In Cicerelli, if you are referred to, it just concludes ki nature and nurture, we don't know the certain extent, but both contribute. Bas, ho gaya uska. After that, he moves to the womb and fertilization and all. So in Schaefer, he actually deals with the theories. I used to write in my answers different theories of Scar and McCartney, cartelization. There are some theories, 3-4 basic theories on how genes and environment interact. And then you can write the example. So this also another chapter which I found in Schaefer, which you can upgrade your notes.
Richard Dawkins was also there for cultural interactions.
Yes, memes ka. So I used Schaefer for gene and environment interaction and the theories, Vygotsky, Piaget ka theory. I found it really well for 4th chapter. And 9th chapter, Motivational Emotions, is one chapter that I found Richard Groth has done enough justice for it. He has ensured that theories are mentioned.
For this, Cicerelli also done enough justice. Passion Smith also done, because it's like a very relatively easy area of psychology.
Yes, sir. Passion Smith, I liked the way they वो होता है ना motivational emotion का influences क्या है, like biological influences क्या है और cognitive influences क्या है. That I found वो brain का diagram होता है.
This year question on physiology of emotion, it was directly from, it can easily be written from that. Yeah, it was beautiful. Yeah.
I directly copied that brain diagram in that Passer Smith. And there are 5 subsections, amygdala से hemisphere तक. So मैंने draw कर दिया पूरा brain diagram, and then I wrote it. So physiology, I found it really well in Passer Smith. Yeah, apart from that, the theories.
Yeah, just to add on, like if you find these kind of diagram, please add this in your notes, because diagrams are simple plus one aspect of your answer writing. Diagram दिखा, सही बना, relevant हुआ उसके लिए, you will definitely get an extra mark. Yeah, please, Shri.
Yes, sir. So for motivational emotion, Richard Gross follow kiya, and for physiology aspect, I try to follow Passer Smith, because he explained physiology very well for motivational emotion. There is one particular topic called measurement of motivational emotion, which I did not find anywhere, but I think I've Googled some research documents and I made notes out of it. So measurement of emotion and motivation, people can refer to my notes, because I did not find them anywhere in any textbook. So trust me, if I did not find anywhere, so people won't find it. First attempt, you will not find it at all, because I was spending 6 years searching for that. So you can refer to my notes.
I trust you.
Of motivation and emotion.
I trust you.
So for the 14th chapter, sleep, you can refer to Cicerelli. It's really good. Cicerelli अच्छा है, Passer Smith अच्छा है, and even Richard Gross is also good for sleep. And the problem with 14th chapter is that it is a repository of some topics which I don't even consider psychology. So for instance, so
ESP,
some intersensory perception hai, ESP hai, and so some other topics.
Hypnosis hai.
Cybernetics
it's more about pseudo psychology than the main course.
Yes, sir. So I found them really difficult to find all those things. Psycho-cybernetics, Maxwell, Marx. I didn't understand why they even included that in the syllabus.
But I say it's
intersensory perception.
We are just about to fetch, like our main concern is to get marks. So it's a low-hanging fruits. You just make 2-pager notes, and they directly come in. Like for sleep, Cicerelli is very good for sleep and dream. So just make
sir.
notes, and Cicely also provide a very good diagram of these alpha, beta, theta waves. So just make it, and within, I think, 4 to 5 hours, 20 marks are on your platter.
Yes, sir. And Passer has these really good research studies on why sleep deprivation is a big problem at all, which Cicely it will not cover. So Passer and Smith में studies होता है, Richard Gross में studies होता है. You can choose. I'm not saying that if I'm mentioning Gross, you should read the entire thing. You just scan through the sleep ka chapter. You will understand that this is one thing that Cicely did not cover. So let me add it in my notes. So that way you can make this thing. And then the sleep deprivation, like I've made a notes on sleep deprivation. People can refer to that. And there are some topics, meditation, yoga, which you can cover in paper 2 mein or chapter 3 mein, therapeutic approaches mein. Apart from that, there's a mix and match of some topics, which if you find it, if you have a source that is really good, if you don't, you can refer to my notes. They're not as important, but 10 marks mein aa sakta hai, so why to leave 5-6 marks on the paper? You can, if you prepare for that, you'll easily get 5-6 marks. So that is there. So that is block 5. And now coming to the most important aspect, the introduction, research methods, and statistics part of psychology. So for this, what I did was introduction. I referred a textbook called Schulz's History of Psychology. The reason why I refer to it is that it has given a very logical flow. How exactly psychology has evolved. He starts from philosophy, early philosophical foundations of psychology. After that, how structuralism came into force. After functionalism came into force, how it psychoanalysis for behaviorism. It creates a logical conclusion. Even if you're not reading the textbook, I highly advise you to go through the index. That will help you form the flow chart.
And
so you can
to add on. To add on, from last 2 years, UPSC is more concerned about this evolution than to a particular school. They are not asking a particular school. They are more focused how it evolved, and they are you can say also widening their spectrum in application. Like they are from last 2 years they're asking regarding evolutionary psychology.
Yes, sir. So actually, for psychology, there are two schools you can say. Psychology, it started when William Wundt has created the first formal laboratory, but other people, especially Indian context, argues that नहीं ऐसा नहीं है, ancient से हमारा ये चल रहा है, consciousness चल रहा है, वगैरह वगैरह. So actually, that Schulz argues that psychology was always there in the form of philosophy. So he argues right from philosophical mechanism, determinism. So what I did was, you don't need to read the entire book. You can just go through the index. Just trace the evolution there in the index and then make some keywords. Philosophical foundation मतलब mechanism है, determinism है, reductionism है. After that, René Descartes will come. After that, John Locke will come. John Locke will come. So he traces the evolution.
Yeah, it will also help in ethics also. And one more thing to add, like we must have the Indian perspective, and please refer the IGNU notes. You will get the Psychology in India document. I think it was of around 20 pages. It will also value added, because if you don't write the Indian aspect in the evolution, UPSC बुरा मान जाएगा.
Yes, sir. They'll say, "Kya yaar, हमारा तो कब से चल रहा है psychology."
Yes.
And also, I think that psychology in India is also there in Cicely's hard printed wala.
In the Girishwar Mishra's forwarding wala book. I think it's not in the recent one.
It is there.
In that book, it is there.
Yes, sir. I generally follow the Western PDF, so I did not find it there, but I had this copy. So I found there and I made notes of it, how it evolved and all.
There are a lot of excerpts in that Cicely book, Indian context. There are a lot of, like, for example, in the language chapter, you will find the 2 language aspect. UPSC also asked question on that. So it was, I am not able to get the name, that lady psychologist.
Bilingualism.
Yeah, bilingualism. So it was there. It was the direct question.
Mohanty ka studies hote.
Yes, Mohanty, and one more lady was there. I'm not able to get her name now, but that was a 2 or 3 pages, and you can write the complete answer from that box.
Yes, sir. So there are some printed, the book that we can buy on Amazon has some important Indian specific context and all.
Yes.
So that I found really helpful. So so what is the chapter we're discussing? First chapter. So historical antecedents, what I did was I created a flow chart. And for every school, you have to have how it impacted psychology. So for instance, structuralism is there. So even though it is no longer a current perspective, it has brought this scientific approach to psychology. So introspection, though, even if it is flawed, it says you have to focus on the objective description and all, one thing. And then second thing, introspection is still valid, Abhi. How you're feeling in the self-description scales of measurement of personality and all, how you're feeling, what is your mood and all, it is still there. So these significance portion and all will be mentioned at the end of the chapter in Shul's textbook. Structuralism, he'll give a complete detail, and at the end में summary बोलता है कि what is the significance of the school, how it is still relevant in psychology, and how did it fade out, or why did it fade out, criticism.
Yes.
I found it really helpful. I read the book and I've made a note. If people can follow through that notes, well and good. If you feel ki the notes is thoda technical, you can go back to the textbook, especially for 2023 aspirants. It's better to invest that time because this will flow into every chapter. So for instance, if it is a personality, you can always link that Freud ka kyun hua tha and behaviorism kya hua tha. You can link between different schools when you know the history of psychology. So I found this textbook really good. I read it entirely. But if you are 600-page book, I'm not saying that you should read it for one topic, but you can create notes out of the side headings and you can create the flow that is there in the index. That book I've really liked. And then for research methods, there are two textbooks by Gravatar. One deals with research methods, one other deals with statistics. Same, you don't need to read it entirely, but it's a really good textbook. Every topic it is mentioned there. It starts with experimental method, non-experimental method, factorial design. Don't read entirely. Initially, a summary hota hai, that you can read. You make your own notes. Try to write examples. So, for instance, if you are saying they were not asked what is factorial method, they'll say with using example illustrate the factorial design.
Yeah, illustrate is the word they stick to it, especially in these questions.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So in designs and all, you can bring AK Singh also now. I mentioned in the AK Singh.
Yes.
So AK Singh ko you can lekar aao. In that also he has given it experimental design. The good thing is that the illustrations are all Indian. He'll say yes. As student is learning in the school, we have introduced yoga and meditation, and we have introduced AC classroom. So there two factors are there which will impact our learning and memory. So this design can be used for factorial design and all. So research designs you can create. You can read from Gravatar. Ka do books hota hai. Research methods and statistics. Don't for statistics, I highly advise don't go too deeper and deeper into the statistics.
Yeah, because
just ensure that if it's a t-test,
just stick to very basic like the t-test, z-test, but I really don't want to dig deeper because there is a lot of econometrics and which is not required in psychology, because a lot of aspirants asked me ki sir, do we need to write those complex equations, like there is a regression is there, so do we write down that beta concept is there? So I request them, no, there's no need. You just need to explain those concepts and how they got applied in psychology. That's enough.
So same, you can use the APS website there. If it is a beta concept, you can just go API ka dictionary mein BETA dalo, and then he will give a proper discussion of beta concept. You can also say, deviation IQ hai. There is this topic on deviation IQ in intelligence chapter. And there also, if you mention deviation IQ, they will give a proper definition.
Yeah, it was a question in 2019.
So yes, sir.
Yeah. How can I forget?
ANOVA. T-test hai, ANOVA hai, factor analysis hai. You have to have a basic definition of what it is. 3-4 steps key how you can use it. One example on how we are doing it. That I also found crash course. YouTube mein crash course channel is there. Statistics. There's a statistics course. In that they also talk about this. Make sure a simple example is there and why exactly it is used in psychology. T-test ka and ANOVA ka difference kya hai? Why factor analysis is used? Why item response theory is used? So these basics you can cover from Gravatar's 2 textbooks. Only go to the specific topic, at the end mein jao, summary padho. And there is also section on qualitative research, grounded theory hai, or focus group hai, or brainstorming hai. For that, I found Bremen textbook, social research methods textbook.
I think
that is also really good.
For brainstorming, even Wikipedia will also suffice because it's only single topic. It is a 2-3 pager, and you can that Osborne work is there on Wikipedia also.
Yes, sir. 4 steps here. Yes, sir. In Bremen, I liked the way that fellow has explained that grounded theory. He gives steps and all. He gives flowcharts for everything. Any method, if you are referring to Bremen, he gives steps. Okay, step 1 is this, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. The significance of grounded theory and criticism of grounded theory.
Why this is important? Because I think last year UPSC asked grounded theory and happiness. They related it. So that's why you need this steps.
They're linked. Yes, sir. So as a grounded theory, focus group, and brainstorming, the beauty of the textbook is he gives in a flowchart wala thing. And also there are some additional materials like qualitative and quantitative differences kya hai. One focuses on data, the other focuses on the context. So
And
there's
for
differences
this
and all.
IGNOU material is very good, also very good. They simply write
Yes,
6,
sir.
7 simple one line points for this topic only. So you can refer, because
So,
we discount that key बहुत simple है, but it is acceptable because it's a government document. So you can take these points from that book also.
yeah, I refer to Bremen and to Gravita textbooks. Don't go deeper. Just make sure that for every keyword you have a definition and 200-word notes on it. Specifically in point format. Don't just copy paste a paragraph and say, "I 200 words ho gaya mere se." That is not what I'm saying. You have to ensure that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, significance 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, criticism 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have to refer to it. I don't think leaving statistics is a good option. Like before 2018,
Not
people
right
used to
now.
leave it, but
Not right now.
no,
After
you are not
post
supposed to do that.
2018, it's become the mainstream. It is no more a side stream. So
And
please,
experimental design and non-experimental design, you should ensure that every key concept, every word has your example, a definition, and significance and criticism for all the statistics textbooks. I'll upload all the books and my notes also.
Okay.
And the same thing you have to follow in the paper 2 ka chapter 1, reliability, validity, abhi
yeah.
aapne bola tha grave ka. Yeah, so there also AKC use kar sakte ho, Gravita use kar sakte ho, ya Polycon use kar, whatever the textbooks I mentioned, everyone covers this testing also. So that you can do. And last minute block 4, which is social psychology, which is really important. I personally feel that investing in a proper social psychology textbook is important.
Yes.
Sticking to an introduction textbook is okay.
I agree.
Yes, picking one social psychology textbook is really important. My favorite.
Yeah, please. Then I have words for it.
Yes, sir. So my favorite textbook is Katin Social Psychology. Katin, you can refer to Aronson ka Social Psychology. It is really important because you don't need to read every chapter, but there are some chapters which shall be mentioned, like group psychology, attitude hai, ya prejudice hai, discrimination hai, or even the self concept. Like in personality, there is this self wala thing, where the cultural influence of self and all. They cover it very good in social psychology textbook. So it is important to invest in one book.
Yes. For me, it's Barron. I read Social Psychology by Barron. It is more or less both. Like I also referred your book also. Both are more or less same, but Barron has less Indian example. Though that book also, but both books are very nice. And if you read them, there is more insight about social psychology and things going around you. You will develop a very, very good insight in this aspect. So please read. And if like for 2022 aspirants, there are some notes provided by some topper of whole social psychology book by Barron. It was hardly 20-25 pages. Please refer it. Those are very good notes. I also made the notes for myself also. I can share that also, because it will give you very diverse points while writing answers for any aspect of social psychology, or even the open-ended questions also.
As a principle, I want to emphasize that apart from the introduction textbook, be it Barron, Cicerelli, or Richard Gross, you have to invest in a social psychology textbook. As a principle, it is a mandatory thing. You don't need to read the entire social psychology textbook because not everything is in the syllabus. Hardly 3-4 chapters will be there. Believe me, they'll really upgrade your answers in paper 2 and the chapter 12, and they're also helpful in your ethics answers, because
for example, like attribution theories, they're very well given, very well explained in these two books, and you will not find in this daily textbooks type. You will find these kind of theories there only. And the moment you read that, the very nice thing added by Shri is ethics. Social psychology, the attitude chapter in ethics, totally driven by these concepts only, totally. But you just need to tone down the language, because psychology is a bit technical. Here you need to be little generic. For example, I always say, instead of writing bystander apathy or diffusion of you can write diffusion of responsibility type thing. Yes.
Mm-hmm. That explains, that's a self-explanatory term. So diffusion of responsibility. So for paper 2, if you invest in this thing, paper 2 answers will be upgraded, and you'll also complete the social integration chapter. 9th chapter, class, caste, and religion ka concepts jo bhi hai, class issues that we have. internal security wala issues, everything will be interlinked with prejudice and discrimination. If you are reading prejudice and
to
discrimination
add
only,
on to, for examples here, those sociology NCRT books will help really, because we have a topic of diversity in the social integration chapter. So you can get the examples from there, and from these books you can get the concepts, and you mix them. It will be a very nice chicken soup for you.
so, and the solutions that are presented in Kathin for prejudice and discrimination, like 10 or 11 unique points he'll give. Apart from the Smartwings ka wo basic ones like awareness generate karo, education karo,
RNP
those are
like
ठीक है.
but we just stick to superordinate goal and contact hypothesis. Uske aage nahi ja pate, because in the exams stress, we are not able to get all the diverse points. So we have to make this inventory beforehand. Only then we are able to produce it in the exam.
So that will come when you're having a separate social psychology textbook. That will give you a different perspective. The points you have to don't say ki हाँ contact theory hai, so I'll make a 250 word document on 250 word document on contact theory, because they're not asking contact theory directly, because that's not mentioned in the syllabus. Instead, you can make 250 words of different theories. Okay, contact hypothesis kya hai, or superordinate goals kya hai, or what are the other things that are mentioned in the social psychology textbook. You ensure that you are having different points. Instead of going deeper, I think you should cover the breadth of different theories that are breadth that are there in the
initially you told us that every block has its own beauty, and this is the beauty of this block. Like you have to cover more the breadth, less the depth.
Yes, sir. With relevant examples, and also this same thing will help in gender psychology also. It is always you can refer to, if glass ceiling effect is there. What I used to do is I used to have these statistics. Fortune 500 companies में कितने women are with कितने companies are women led, or Indian companies में what is the composition of boards, the company boards
for
which
this,
are there by women.
You will find the very good documents on EMF and OECD. They are flooded with this
OECD and HBR.
HBR, World Economic Forum is also there.
Articles आता रहता है all the time.
And World Economic Forum is also there.
You can Google them.
You will easily find.
But there is no data.
Just take the data points only. Don't read them, because if you start doing it, it will be torture for everybody, because it's so much of content shared in these videos. So please be choosy.
There is no depth of material for gender psychology, and this is another reason why you should invest in a social psychology textbook, because there are some chapters which they start with gender. Like they say ki, for example, in Kathan, the very good point that it mentions is that out of all the prejudices and all the discrimination, sexism is different. The reason being, all the prejudices can be tackled by the contact hypothesis. So different religions are there. If they are in contact, they say ki हाँ, they'll get to know the differences and they'll be ठीक है.
And here is the vice versa.
Is different because
here contact creates
it. Even though they reside together.
Here context creates it.
Even though they reside together for the entire life, even they are residing, that the sexism will not go away, number one. And number two is that the other sexism, the other prejudices are generally, they think कि अच्छा okay, North Indian है तो ये हो सकता है, South Indian है ये हो सकता है. But in gender thing, sexism, it is a prescriptive thing. You are a woman, so you should be like this. You must be like this. You prescribe her behavior. So these are the basic points that Kathan will say. So that will elevate your thing. So you can always say that sexism is a different kind of prejudice because of these two reasons. When you say this, when you're illustrating this is why it is different, then they'll be like, okay, it is not like any other prejudice. It is a completely different one. And the solution should be completely different than the other prejudices. So that is why I think it is very important to invest in a social psychology textbook. It will upgrade your answers to a next level. So paper 2 will help you unlock the creativity. Yes. So I think we have completed all the blocks all the 5 blocks in paper 1 also. So answer writing is the key.
Like we also
no matter how much content you have, no matter how much content you have, doesn't matter. You have to present them.
Yeah. For this, I'm here with Parishram. You can come on a serious note. It's a daily answer writing thing, and whatever I shared or discussed with Shri, I implement it on daily basis. We have a weekend kind of discussions, like Shri also, we also have this kind of long discussions out there, and it will help you out to make your content presentable, how to write answers was the main motive, like what show. And by answer writing, what happened is there is a reverse engineering. After answer writing, you modify your notes, because then you realize, yeah, these notes are not as per the demand of the UPSC PYQs. So you aspirants also do that, and I also help them in doing it. So right now, I think that's all,
So
Shri.
I would like to add one thing
Yeah,
regarding
please.
Parishram. Inish, before subscribing to that, even though I was making my notes in point format, the one deficiency I found was that when I was writing your answer, like there was a question on schizophrenia, what are the symptoms and all. Prior to that, I had a notes of like 4 pages on schizophrenia, just because I liked the chapter in parallel. I read the entire chapter in parallel. So what I did was I made notes, because ये तो मेरा आदत है कि हाँ ज़्यादा पढ़ो ज़्यादा मैं notes बनाओ. So when I was trying to answer that day, within 7 minutes, I was unable to reproduce everything. So I had to short it down and all. So what I did was, after submitting the test, I used to go to my source material. I used to edit it down. I used to have a soft copy.
Yes.
So I used to edit it down. अरे यार इतना नहीं चाहिए, because there is no time and space there वहाँ पे लिखने के लिए. So after the test, I used to come back to my notes. I used to edit it so as to next time if there is a schizophrenia question, I have to reproduce it exactly as it is there, rather than thinking during the examination time कि हाँ कैसे shortcut करना है मेरे को, कैसे present
Yes.
करना है. So
And
that helped me refine my notes.
this
Actually, when you're
this is
talking about reverse engineering, this is what I've done after the
this is
exam.
this is the key. Only 1 minute again. Only 1 minute is left, Shri. Just I see for notes, one golden rule. Some of my senior once said to me, if your psychology notes is not within 150 pages, those are no notes. No, they are of no use. So please make sure your whole psychology finally wrapped up in these 150 pages. That will be of great help, because कल एग्जाम है और आज आप 150 पेजेस रिवाइज कर पा रहे हो. You can't read 15,000 pages or 1,500 pages even, because there are so many books, so much of the content is there. So that's all for right now. And also, I have started a new program. I also share with Shri also does Disha, that is the mentoring program. From now onwards, I have started like for the next year aspirants, or the upcoming aspirants. It is a kind of mentoring program, and these videos will be the founding stone for that. Thank you, Shri, for your efforts and time.